I became unconditionally happy when I realized that I no longer had to remove my suffering. When I realized that my suffering wasn't a problem. It was never something that was going to kill me. It was never something that was going to hurt me. And I realized then that I could be focused and interested in the truth. Like, I always had a passion for truth, and I believe that we all have that innate within us. Every single human being on earth has a passion to understand the truth, regardless of what that truth may be. So on this path, what I realized was that, firstly, I went through a traumatic experience that, just completely rocked my world. This fear of death that I had was extremely potent because of this trauma, and I thought I was going to die every day. I had this psychosis of this extreme fear that everything was going to kill me and that I was going to die. I thought bombs were going to come out of nowhere. I would read bang on the wall and get extremely panicked because I thought that was a symbol from the universe that I was going to die. Borderline schizophrenia. And I realized it was all down to the fear of death. So instead of trying to fear death, what I realized was that I had to come to terms with instead of running and acting like a psychopath, for somehow I just didn't do that. I realized that I had to then overcome the fear of death. If this is the thing that's causing fear, then I have to be okay with dying. It's the only way I was going to be able to live. So that made that my quest. And through that quest, I started to realize my true nature. My true nature is not a small individual finite self. It is a expansive universal consciousness. And this path led me to realize that happiness is not an experience. Happiness is not some type of feeling, some type of state of mind. It's the pure acceptance of everything that is taking place in our reality. So we think that because we've had objects before, and these objects seem to have brought us this feeling of joy or excitement or bliss, or we've done things, and because of the things we've done, we've got happiness from it. That's never been the actual experience. So we then superimpose that happiness is a feeling, a state of mind, some type of objective experience. Therefore, we look for happiness in those objective experiences. It wasn't until I realized that happiness is not an objective experience, like an experience that we can perceive, that I then surrendered this energy that tried to find certain objects. And then I went on the search for enlightenment, and then obviously the search for enlightenment, for awakening, it came to an end. Because I knew that there was nothing I could find. It then became, I didn't care about awakening and enlightenment. I just cared about being happy. I just cared about what was really important. Happiness, truly living life, having fun, having amazing relationships, like the actual important stuff, not the enlightenment, the state of mind that the golden Buddha created. We need to take that off the pedestal and just realize that the only thing important is happiness. There's no one less or more awakened. There's just people who are either happy or they're not happy. There's people who either have conditions on their happiness or people who have no conditions on their happiness. The happiness that I experience has no conditions. 0 conditions. Therefore, it's unconditional. So I'm always at a peaceful place of inner calm and contentedness. That doesn't mean that I'm unresponsive to any form of aggression. That doesn't mean I'm unresponsive to any form of boundary. On the contrary, if there's a reason for me to set a boundary, because I'm an all-embracive yes to everything, I'm going to say yes to the no. I'm going to say yes, I should set up a boundary. Yes, I should be saying this instead of that. Yes, I should be serving justice when injustice is presented in front of me. You see? Universal yes doesn't mean you don't say no on the relative level. It means you are a universal yes to everything, even the relative no's. And this is where this unconditional happiness lives. It lives transcendent of human experience. Truly, unconditional happiness is not a human experience. Happiness is not a human experience. Happiness is transcendent of the human being. Then, once we realize that, we become the fully autonomous, healthy, happy human being. A human being that can live an individual life with friends and family and know its universal nature. So this path then took me to realize that the nature of what I am is not individual, it's universal. Just like in your experience right now, you are hearing these words. That which hears and perceives these words, we need to understand, is that limited and inside the body, or is it universal and expansive? In other words, is it universal and non-objective, so therefore not contained inside the physical world? And we can do that very simply by recognizing this awareness is autonomous. We don't need a thought, a feeling, an image, a sensation in order to access our own awareness. We are aware autonomously. There's no restriction there to know our awareness. We don't need to use a thought first. We don't need to use a feeling first in order to know it. We know it simply by knowing it. And that autonomous knowing is like the computer realizing it is the internet and knowing that it is still the internet regardless of whether the computer's there. You see? And obviously, don't get technical on me. Some people go like, I've used a metaphor of like wood before, being not fence, not being a wood, and someone say, actually, not even the wood is real. Even the wood is blah blah blah. And I'm just like, guys, come on, please take it for what it's worth. So you understand that. So you understand that your true nature is pure, infinite being. Most people don't recognize this in experience. They recognize it as an experience. So many people I've spoke to, they say, I know my true nature, I am infinite, but I still don't feel limited. And I say, well, tell me about yourself. They'll say, who, me? My name is Marshall, I'm from San Diego. And then they just start talking about themselves. No, tell me about you. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Well, of course you don't know how to answer it, because your experience of yourself was from a memory. It's from an experience. You completely missed the mark, basically. You knew in your heart you were true and infinite, but then you completely missed the mark and thought of it as an experience. Basically, God arises as an indivisible knowing. Sometimes that experience can come with a parade of dancers. And people get lost in the parade and they look for the parade when really they just need to be understanding the actual knowing of their true nature. So we need to know our true nature in this moment. This is where unconditional happiness is found. It's not found in understanding, oh yes, once on a trip I had an experience, or once on this experience I had an awakening, and once there I did this, and da. That's not going to help you truly find unconditional happiness if you keep relating to it as an experience. You need to understand what caused that experience. What caused that experience is the knowing of your being. Just like we can know in our experience right now the knowing of your being. You'll say, well, it doesn't come with the parade of dances. Of course not. Can you expect the parade to be there all the time? This is the parade. You're experiencing the parade. Life is the parade of dancers that you're looking for, that you keep avoiding because you're not knowing your true nature. So knowing your being right now, you are the fact of being aware. You are that which is perceiving these words. That which understands. That which understands is completely autonomous, doesn't need anything to know itself. It's free. It's zero-dimensional, meaning it has no form, size, shape, color, texture. You cannot touch it, feel it, hear it. You know it simply by being it. And then what this does, it changes our beliefs. It changes our thoughts about ourselves. The thoughts don't relate then to a separate individual finite self. And then once we go through that, I'm doing this very, very quickly, by the way. Obviously, it might take a little bit longer if you were to investigate it fully and thoroughly. But first we need to cleanse the thought, then the feeling, then our perceptions. Thought, feeling, and perception. Thought typically says, I am limited, I am temporary, and it doesn't let us access our feeling state yet. The feeling of being separate, individual, and finite. So once the mind knows and understands, okay, I understand that I'm infinite, then we need to go to the feeling. Well, do I feel separate, temporary, limited, and finite? Then we have to understand, well, what do these feelings say? Do I feel in the head? Do I feel like I'm in my body? You see? Is it true that I'm in my body? Is it true that I'm in my head? We need to explore these feelings. You see, when you move your head, do you move your head? Does it feel like I am moving? You see, I don't feel I am moving my head. You see, and equally, if you do this, does it feel like you're moving? No, it doesn't feel like you're moving. Your arm is moving. But then if you move your head, it feels like you're moving, you see? That's another feeling limitation, a feeling of being located. You know, I perceive a distance between me and the microphone, but me that is referring to the distance is not the real me, you see? And I know that, so therefore it doesn't trigger the trauma of separation. It doesn't make me believe, oh, look, I am at a distance from this. So therefore, there is distance. I am separate. This is an outside world, and I'm perceiving an outside world that is separate from me, and I'm individual and finite inside it. That's what usually happens through perception. That's a perceptual form of separation, which triggers that. So I can perceive duality, but I can also, duality shines with reality. You see, it's not pulling me in and making me believe, oh, there's distance between me and the camera. You see, there's a distance between my body and the camera. I can see that, that's perfectly clear. But there's no distance between me and the body and the camera. Me and the camera are at a zero distance. You see, this is the way that we can cleanse our perception in that way. We just simply see the truth of our experience. We let it go from the mind, the feeling, into perception, therefore into the world. Therefore, there's less restriction on our happiness. Therefore, our happiness becomes unconditional. It's not conditioned by the world. It's not conditioned by our feelings. It's not conditioned by our mind. That is unconditional happiness. People say, oh, I experienced unconditional happiness once. Well, no, you didn't, because it was obviously conditional to whatever that experience was. You see, that's not unconditional happiness. Unconditional happiness is when there is no condition whatsoever in this current moment on your happiness. That's unconditional happiness. If it happened once and isn't there now, well, obviously there's conditions. You still have a new condition. My conditions are that I must be... There is no condition now on the happiness. Happiness is unconditional. So from that point of view, this is how to access unconditional happiness. I mean, it starts off as a pretty soft journey, gets a little bit terrifying, and then gets very, 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 very peaceful after that. I have a free community, guys. If you'd like to check the link in the description, you can check it out. I do free meditations every single week, so I'd love to see you there. There's a lot of nice people. I think you'd love it. Yeah, have an amazing day, guys. Take care.